Imagine spending 2 full years of your life, like literally 730 days, obsessively weighing your food.
Oh, man. That sounds completely exhausting.
Right. It is. You are meticulously tracking every single calorie in some fitness app. You are basically starving yourself. And at the end of all that time,
Let me guess. Nothing.
exactly. You look in the mirror and you have absolutely zero new muscle to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a devastating scenario. But honestly, it is statistically incredibly common for beginners navigating the modern fitness landscape.
Which is exactly what happened to a guy in our source material today, Isa. We are looking at a guy who started his journey weighing 120 kilograms. That is about 264 pounds.
Wow, that's a serious starting point.
Yeah, and with absolutely zero financial safety net, we were talking about a student allowance of practically nothing.
Right, living in a space where every single modern fitness convenience was completely out of reach.
Exactly. And today, we are going deep. We are going to extract the exact blueprint of how he, and others like him, completely bypassed the modern fitness industry's financial gatekeeping to build an incredible physique.
The term financial gatekeeping is incredibly apt here, by the way.
It really is, right? Because it feels like a private club.
Totally. We have somehow culturally conflated the biological process of cellular adaptation with, like, hyper-consumerism. The industry has constructed this illusion.
A toll booth, basically.
Yes. The toll booth convincing you that to alter your body composition, you require a gold-tier commercial gym membership, organic, grass-fed meal prep delivery, and a supplement stack that requires a small mortgage.
Right, it's this luxury boutique expectation. You walk in, and if you don't drop thousands of dollars, you're supposedly locked out of the club entirely.
Which is entirely false.
Completely false. Isa's journey, which we're going to unpack in molecular and economic detail today, shatters that completely.
Yeah.
Because when you strip away the financial padding, you are forced to confront the raw mechanics of human physiology.
Which is the core mission of our analysis today. We are isolating those mechanics.
Getting right down to the studs.
Exactly. We are stripping away the aesthetic fluff of the fitness industry to show you how to force biological adaptation on a strict, almost non-existent budget.
Because fundamentally, your central nervous system does not care about your credit card limit.
It really doesn't.
Not even a little bit.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we want to know where to save money, we have to start by understanding what the body actually requires to change.
Right, the non-negotiables.
Yeah, and this brings us back to Isa's 730 days of basically digging a hole. He failed for 2 years because he fell into the trap of prioritizing a mathematically perfect diet over the actual physical stimulus.
Well, let's be precise here. He thought he was prioritizing a perfect diet, but he was actually executing a deeply flawed version of it.
Oh, right, because of the tracking errors.
Yeah, he was weighing food before cooking instead of after, miscalculating raw versus cooked macros, and severely under-eating protein.
Which is a classic beginner mistake.
Yeah.
Completely. But more importantly, you're right about the stimulus part. He was completely ignoring the intensity of his resistance training. He thought a caloric deficit alone would magically yield a muscular physique.
I know what you're thinking right now. If you are listening to this and you've been around the fitness block, you're probably screaming at your dashboard. But diet is 80% of the battle.
You can't outtrain a bad diet.
Exactly. We've all heard it. But for a complete beginner, the data we are looking at suggests the exact opposite in terms of priority.
Yeah, that 80% diet aphorism is highly context-dependent and, frankly, misleading for detrained individuals. We need to talk about the physiology of newbie gains.
I love this concept. Break down what is actually happening in the body.
So when a body that has been sedentary for years is suddenly introduced to high-intensity mechanical tension, it experiences a profound systemic shock.
It's basically an evolutionary panic response.
That's a great way to put it.
Oh,
the
there.
body realizes it is entirely unequipped for its new physical environment.
So it scrambles to adapt.
Exactly. The mechanical tension forces satellite cells, which act as a sort of reserve pool of muscle nuclei, to donate their nuclei to the existing muscle fibers.
Which triggers the growth.
Yes, it triggers a massive spike in muscle protein synthesis.
Yeah.
Because this environment is entirely new, the body is primed to build muscle rapidly and aggressively.
Even if the diet is terrible?
Almost completely irrespective of how optimal the dietary conditions are, provided there are baseline calories available.
Let me throw an analogy at you to see if this tracks with the biology, because this helps me visualize it.
Sure, let's hear it.
Think of a beginner's body like a completely dry sponge. If you take a bone-dry sponge and throw even a messy, uncoordinated splash of water on it, it's going to soak up every single drop instantly.
Right, because there's zero saturation.
Exactly. That water is the mechanical tension from the workout. Now, an advanced athlete who's been lifting for 10 years, their body is a damp sponge.
Ah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, to get that damp sponge to absorb any more water, you need the perfect temperature, the exact right atmospheric pressure, a meticulously crafted diet. But for a beginner, you literally just need to get the sponge wet.
I like it. I would adjust that analogy slightly to make it mechanistically accurate, though.
Okay, tweak it for me.
It's less about getting the sponge wet and more about the fact that a beginner's sponge is rapidly expanding its actual capacity to hold water. But the premise is entirely correct.
The physical stimulus is the absolute catalyst.
It is. If you do not have the catalyst, you can eat all the organic free-range chicken in the world, and your body will simply store that excess energy as adipose tissue.
Meaning fat.
Yes, fat.
Which perfectly explains Isa's incredibly humble diet when he finally started making actual progress. He didn't go out and buy expensive superfoods or anything.
No, not at all. He just started lifting heavily, and his diet was shockingly normal.
He literally ate whatever his family was already cooking for the household, right?
Exactly. The foundational meals were standard domestic staples. Breakfast was eggs, sometimes 2 whole eggs and 3 egg whites.
And lunch and dinner?
Simply whatever chicken and rice the family had already prepared. He didn't demand a separate expensive grocery run from his parents.
He just controlled the portions.
Right. He controlled his portions to drop the excess adipose tissue while the mechanical tension built the muscle.
And we really need to contextualize his budget here because it is wild. His weekly allowance was 30 to 40 reals.
Was practically nothing.
For global context, that is roughly 8 to 10 US dollars a week. That is his entire discretionary budget.
And what did he spend it on?
He used that tiny bit of pocket money just to buy peanut butter and a little bit of honey and cinnamon to put in his oats.
Which is actually a highly efficient use of capital from a thermodynamic standpoint.
Really? Even though peanut butter is kind of seen as a junk food sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Peanut butter is incredibly calorie dense, providing cheap fats and trace proteins.
Which you need for energy.
Vital when you are navigating a caloric deficit and need sustained energy for high-intensity training.
Plus, it was probably his only lifeline to culinary joy. But it really underscores the massive takeaway for the starting line.
That you don't need to reinvent your life.
Exactly. You do not need to upend your entire lifestyle, alienate your family at the dinner table, or drain your bank account on day one.
Just get the stimulus right.
Right. We've hired the construction workers. That's the mechanical tension. Now where do we put them to work? Which brings us to the geography of iron. Commercial gyms versus your living room floor.
If we accept that mechanical tension is the non-negotiable catalyst, we have to look at the most cost-effective place to generate that tension.
And what does the source material say?
The consensus here is unequivocal.
Yeah.
If you have no disposable income, a premium commercial gym is not a necessity. It is a luxury tax on your fitness.
Okay, hold on. I have to play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
Are you seriously telling me that doing 50 push-ups on a dirty dorm room floor triggers the exact same hypertrophic response as using a $10,000 converging chest press machine?
I am.
Biomechanically, how is that even possible? Doesn't the machine isolate the pectoral muscle with a much better resistance profile?
That is a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of biomechanical literacy. Let's break down the strength curves.
Let's do it.
Yes, a highly engineered $10,000 chest press machine is designed to match the natural strength curve of the pectoral muscle. It provides consistent tension throughout the entire range of motion.
So it is better.
It's an optimized tool. However, a push-up is a closed kinetic chain exercise. Your hands are fixed to the floor, and you are moving your body mass through space.
Which means your core and stabilizers have to fire massively just to keep you from collapsing.
Precisely. You're activating the pectoralis major, the anterior deltoids, the triceps brachii, and a massive array of stabilizing musculature.
So it's actually more functional in a way.
Yes. Now, is the resistance profile of a push-up as mathematically perfect as the $10,000 machine?
Mm-hmm.
No, but your central nervous system, your CNS, does not have eyes.
Oh, I love that phrase. The CNS does not have eyes.
It doesn't. Your CNS cannot distinguish between the stainless steel handles of an Italian-made chest press
Yeah.
and the dusty floor tiles of your dorm room.
It just feels the struggle.
Exactly. All it registers is that the muscle fibers in your chest and triceps are experiencing high levels of mechanical force that they're struggling to overcome.
So as long as you push hard enough.
If you push a muscle close to absolute failure, whether with a machine or your own body weight, you will trigger the mTOR pathway responsible for muscle growth.
And there's an incredible anecdote in the sources regarding exactly this. We're talking about a guy in a university dorm who ordered a cheap pull-up bar online.
Oh, right, for maybe $10 or $15?
Yeah, he hung it in his doorway. At first, he didn't even have the strength to do a single pull-up. He would just jump up, hang there, and slowly lower himself down until he fell.
Those are eccentric pull-ups.
And those work.
Oh, absolutely. They are actually known to cause more micro tears and muscle damage, the good kind, than the concentric lifting phase.
That's crazy. And eventually, he built this ironclad routine, 50 push-ups and 15 strict pull-ups every single day before class.
Just using his doorway and his floor?
Exactly. He completely transformed his upper body without ever stepping foot in a commercial facility.
And for the lower body. People always ask about legs.
Right. For legs, or when you outgrow your body weight, a simple 40-kilogram, that's roughly 90-pound adjustable dumbbell set can provide a full year of progressive overload.
Just adding a little weight over time.
Yeah, you just add a small plate every week. You can hit a Bulgarian split squat with 90 pounds in your living room, and I guarantee your legs will be begging for mercy.
What's fascinating here is how modern gym culture has successfully conflated amenities with utility.
Oh, break that down, because I think a lot of people are paying for amenities and they think they're buying utility.
Utility is the fundamental requirement for the task. In weightlifting, utility is a heavy object and gravity. That's all you need.
Gravity is free.
Exactly. When you pay $100 or $150 a month for a premium commercial gym, you are paying for the eucalyptus-infused sauna, the towel service, the sleek lighting optimized for social media.
The air conditioning?
Yes, and the matching heavy-duty equipment. Those are amenities. They make the process comfortable.
But we don't want comfort.
Comfort is the exact opposite of what triggers physical adaptation.
Which perfectly sets up the alternative for people who really want a gym environment. Like, they need to get out of the house to get in the zone, but they are on a razor-thin budget.
Right, they need a dedicated space.
The materials introduced this concept of shalabi gyms. The neighborhood, grassroots, dungeon gyms.
These are incredible.
These are the hidden gems that the massive commercial chains actively bury.
Well, the commercial chains dominate search engine optimization. If you type gym near me into your map application, you'll only see the mega corporations.
Because they pay for that digital real estate.
Exactly. Shabi gyms operate entirely differently.
Isa started in one called Salat Al-Qawa, which literally translates to the strength hall.
Such a great name.
He described it as looking like a massive blue and white tiled bathroom filled with incredibly old, rusted, classic machines.
Up the price.
It costs less than 200 reals a month, roughly $50.
And you mentioned another example earlier, the Kaf Al Nala, or Bee Cave Gym, which perfectly illustrates the utility over amenity mindset.
Oh, the Bee Cave is legendary. The guy walks in and it's literally decorated to look like a jungle. Fake trees, vines everywhere.
I love that.
But the absolute best part, the catch, was that the floor was covered in regular, fragile ceramic household tiles.
Like household tiles in a gym.
Yes. So you were in there deadlifting heavyweight, but if you drop the barbell, you're going to shatter the floor and the owner is going to physically chase you out of the building.
That is hilarious. It actually creates a forced eccentric control. You have to lower the weight silently.
Right. You're getting a better workout because you're terrified of breaking the tile.
And what was the cost there?
It was about 150 reals a month, less than 40 bucks. You get the raw utility, the heavy iron, without the premium price tag.
For anyone listening trying to find these places, you have to bypass the standard algorithms. Look for local phrasing.
Like what?
Search for terms like iron halls, or look in older, central, or light industrial sectors of your city.
They mentioned looking inside massage parlors too, right?
Yes. Look inside local massage parlors or physical therapy centers. They often have small, fully functional weight rooms attached to them that they barely use, and they charge practically nothing for access.
And here is a massive financial hack for these smaller places.
Yeah.
You can actually negotiate.
Yes, the economics of independent businesses allow for pricing elasticity.
Exactly. You try walking up to the receptionist at a massive corporate mega gym and saying, "Hey, I'm a broke university student. Can I give you 30 bucks cash for the month?"
They will just stare at you.
The computer says no. But at a Sharabi gym, you are often talking directly to the owner.
And you can make a deal.
You explain your situation, you offer a lower flat cash rate up front, and very often they will shake your hand and let you in.
Because for them, any marginal revenue on an existing facility with fixed costs is pure profit. It is a highly rational economic trade-off for both parties.
Okay, so we've hacked the geography of iron. You're either doing push-ups in your dorm, destroying your legs with adjustable dumbbells in your living room, or you are sweating it out in the ceramic-tiled bee cave.
You've got the tension. The construction workers are on site.
Now we have to buy the bricks. We have to talk about fuel, which brings us to the supply chain economics of grocery shopping.
And this is arguably the most critical variable, because where you buy your food dictates your financial survival just as much as what you are buying.
The roadmap we have lays out a strict, brilliantly simple hierarchy of grocery shopping for the budget conscious. Let's walk through it.
Let's start at the bottom.
Right, at the very bottom of the barrel, the absolute worst place you can source your calories. The corner store, the bakwala, the convenience mart.
Corner stores operate on a business model of extreme convenience and spatial monopolies.
Meaning you pay for the fact that it's close.
Exactly. You are paying a massive premium simply because the store is a 3-minute walk from your front door. Because their square footage is limited, they have low inventory turnover.
Which means high markups to cover their overhead.
Precisely. Purchasing staple nutritional items here, like milk or eggs, is financial self-sabotage if you are on a strict budget.
The next step up the ladder, which is still categorized as a bad option, is the standard mid-sized supermarket.
You see a broader variety of goods, certainly, but you are still absorbing standard retail pricing.
Think about the supply chain of a chicken breast in a standard supermarket, though. It's crazy.
It really is. It has passed through the farmer, the regional distributor, the packager, the branding agency, the national distributor, and finally, the supermarket itself.
Everyone takes a cut.
Every single hand that touches that product takes a profit margin. And you, the end consumer, are the one paying for all of those margins.
Then we hit the better category, which is the massive hypermarket.
Hypermarkets operate on economies of scale. Because they move titanic quantities of inventory, they can negotiate much better rates from distributors.
And they run sales constantly.
Yes, they're constantly running loss leader promotions and bulk sales to cycle their perishable stock. If you are willing to buy in bulk here, you begin to see a real reduction in your unit cost per meal.
But the absolute pinnacle, the best option for budget fitness shopping is going straight to the source. The wholesale produce and meat markets, the soak.
This is where you bypass the middlemen entirely, and the economics shift drastically in your favor.
Let's talk real numbers because the price discrepancy is staggering. We're talking about chicken, the absolute foundational block of muscle building.
The staple.
If you drive to a local wholesale poultry vendor at the market, 10 kilograms of chicken, that is 22 pounds of meat, will cost you around 185 to 220 rials.
Let's call it 50 to 60 US dollars.
Right. Now, if you try to buy that exact same 22 pounds in a brightly lit, beautifully air-conditioned supermarket,
It's a completely different story.
you are looking at upwards of 400 rials, over 100 US dollars. It is literally double the price.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are really discussing is the friction of stepping outside the convenience-driven consumer matrix.
The convenience matrix, that's a good term for it.
Modern society is meticulously engineered to make you pay for ease.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to drive across town to a chaotic wholesale market on a Saturday morning.
Precisely. Walking into a pristine supermarket with lo-fi music playing, perfectly stacked shelves, and self-checkout is frictionless. It is easy.
But driving to the souk is work.
It is. Driving to a loud, chaotic wholesale market, dealing with parking, building a relationship with a local butcher, and negotiating the price of raw meat requires significant cognitive and social effort.
You have to talk to people.
Right. It requires a tolerance for friction.
But that friction is paying you. It's cutting your grocery bill by 50%.
It is a direct exchange.
Right.
You are trading a small amount of your physical and psychological comfort for a massive retention of your financial capital.
Which, if you are completely broke, is a no-brainer.
For someone in Isa's position or a broke student, it is a highly rational, non-negotiable trade-off.
So you've braved the wholesale market, you've negotiated with the butcher, you've got your massive haul of ingredients. Now we need the culinary blueprint.
Right. What are you actually making?
Exactly. What exactly is going into that shopping cart that balances cost, bioavailable protein, and actually tastes good enough that you won't lose your mind and order a pizza on day 4?
The foundational architecture of a budget diet relies on 4 critical hyper-cheap staples.
Let's hear them.
Frozen chicken, oats, potatoes, and standard cow's milk.
Okay, we have to tackle the frozen chicken dilemma immediately.
It's a real issue.
Because anyone listening who has tried to survive on cheap, bulk frozen chicken breasts knows the profound misery of this experience.
It can be pretty bad.
You thaw it, you cook it, and it comes out tasting like hot, fibrous plastic. It's incredibly dry, the texture is completely rubbery, and chewing it feels like a jaw workout.
The degradation of texture in frozen meat is a simple matter of cellular biology, actually.
Oh, really? It's not just me being a bad cook.
Not entirely. When meat is frozen, especially slowly in commercial freezers, the water inside the muscle fibers expands into ice crystals.
And ice expands.
Right. These jagged ice crystals literally puncture and burst the cellular walls of the meat. When you thaw and cook that meat, all the intracellular moisture simply leaks out into the pan,
Leaving you with dry, rubbery chicken.
leaving you with dry, denatured protein strands.
But there is a culinary hack to fix this, and it honestly blew my mind because it costs pennies. You use a heavy salt brine.
It relies on the principles of osmosis and protein denaturation, and it is highly effective.
Break down the chemistry of that, because I want people to understand why this works, not just that it works.
Yeah.
You take the frozen chicken, thaw it, and submerge it in a bowl of water that is heavily, heavily saturated with salt. What is actually happening in that bowl?
When you submerge the meat in a highly concentrated saline solution, two distinct chemical processes occur. First, through osmosis, the meat absorbs the water.
So it's rehydrating.
Yes,
Yeah.
rehydrating the cells that were damaged during freezing. But more importantly, the high concentration of salt actually begins to dissolve parts of the muscle protein structure,
Wait, it dissolves the meat.
specifically a protein called myosin.
So it's breaking down the toughness before you even apply heat?
Yes. As the salt dissolves the myosin, the muscle fibers loosen and separate. They essentially turn into a microscopic gel network.
A gel network.
Think of it like a sponge. This gel network traps the water inside the meat. So when you pull the chicken out, rinse it off, and throw it in a hot pan, that gel network prevents the moisture from leaking out.
The result is mind-blowing. That frozen plastic texture completely vanishes.
It makes a massive difference.
It's juicy. It cuts like fresh, expensive chicken, but you paid the frozen wholesale price. You are literally using kitchen chemistry to upgrade your meat class.
It is a perfect example of using applied knowledge to overcome a financial limitation.
Okay, what about carbs?
Now, regarding carbohydrates, the energy fuel for your workouts, the data heavily favors what we can call the carb kings, oats and potatoes.
I have to admit, I laughed out loud during the analysis when they brought up the internet trolls regarding oats.
Oh, the horse food comments?
Yes, you see these comments on fitness videos saying, why do bodybuilders eat oats? Oats are horse food. You're eating livestock feed.
It's a common trope online.
And the response from the source was just perfect. I want horse thighs. If horses are jacked, I'm eating the oats.
Well, humorous, nutritionally, oats really are a powerhouse. They're incredibly cheap, shelf-stable for months, and provide a massive dose of complex, slow-digesting carbohydrate.
Which keeps you energized.
Exactly. They provide sustained glycogen release during heavy resistance training. But the potato is where we see a brilliant intersection of nutrition and time-saving efficiency.
A microwave potato hack. Listen to me, you guys. If you despise cooking, if the idea of boiling a pot of water for rice makes you want to quit your diet, this will change your life.
It is very efficient.
You take a whole, raw, unpeeled potato, you stab it 3 or 4 times with a fork so it doesn't build pressure and explode.
Crucial step right there.
Very crucial. Then you take a heavy paper towel, soak it in water so it's dripping wet, wrap it around the potato, and throw it in the microwave for 6 to 7 minutes.
You are essentially creating a localized, high-pressure steam environment.
Exactly. Instead of the microwave just blasting the potato and turning it into a dried-out husk, the wet paper towel steams it perfectly from the outside in.
It's brilliant.
In 7 minutes, you have a perfectly cooked, instantly accessible, incredibly cheap source of complex carbohydrates. No boiling water, no waiting 45 minutes for the oven, and 0 cleanup.
It's also worth noting that microwaving a potato retains far more water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and potassium than boiling it.
Oh, because the nutrients don't wash away.
Right. When you boil them, the nutrients often leach out into the water that you just throw down the sink.
Okay, so we have carbs and cheap chicken covered. Let's talk about what I want to call stealth protein.
Stealth protein, I like that.
This is where budget dieters constantly miss the mark because they are obsessively looking at expensive cuts of steak or specialized, heavily marketed protein bars.
Right. They look past the basics.
We need to talk about the biological value of standard cheap cow's milk.
It is perhaps the most underrated, cost-effective anabolic tool available. Assuming you do not have a severe lactose intolerance, of course, incorporating milk is incredibly efficient.
It's so simple, it feels like a cheat code.
Drinking just 1 large cup of milk with every single meal adds roughly 18 grams of high-quality, highly bioavailable protein to your daily intake with 0 preparation time.
You don't chop it, you don't cook it, you just pour it into a glass?
But the more profound nutritional insight we extracted is the strategic combination of incomplete proteins.
Yes. Let's get into the weeds on this, because this is where nutritional science actually saves you hundreds of dollars a month.
To understand this, we have to look at amino acids, the building blocks of protein.
Right.
Plant-based proteins, like those found in cheap bread, toast, or rice, are categorized as incomplete proteins. This means they lack sufficient quantities of 1 or more of the 9 essential amino acids that the human body cannot produce on its own.
And the most important one of those for our purposes is leucine, right?
Correct. Leucine is the primary biological trigger for muscle protein synthesis. It is the key that turns on the mTOR pathway we discussed earlier.
So you need leucine to grow.
Yes. To maximally trigger that pathway, you generally need about 3 grams of leucine in a single meal. Animal proteins, meat, dairy, eggs are complete. They're packed with leucine.
And plant proteins?
Plant proteins have very little. So if you eat a piece of toast, you get some protein, but you don't trigger the growth pathway.
So how does the combination hack work? Do I have to eat a massive steak with my toast?
No, and that is the beauty of it. You only need to reach the leucine threshold. If you take a very cheap, incomplete plant protein, like 2 slices of standard toast.
Which costs almost nothing.
Right, and you combine it with a very small amount of trace animal protein, like 2 cheap whole eggs. The amino acid profiles merge in your digestive tract.
Oh, wow. The eggs fill in the gaps of the bread.
Exactly. The concentrated leucine and complete profile of the eggs augment the incomplete profile of the toast. Suddenly, your body registers a powerful, complete signal to synthesize muscle tissue.
That is incredible.
You achieve the exact same physiological trigger as eating a $30 steak, but you did it using bread and eggs that cost less than $1. It definitively proves that you do not need expensive, massive cuts of meat to trigger optimal muscle growth.
Yeah, okay, so we've hacked the food supply, we've got the cheap ingredients, we've brined the frozen chicken so it's actually edible. We are microwaving potatoes in 7 minutes, and we are combining toast and eggs like mad scientists.
The foundation is set.
But this brings us to a massive roadblock. We are stepping into the time value equation.
Yes. The great excuse.
The most stubborn, universal excuse people use to avoid all of this is, I don't have time to cook.
It is the ultimate justification for relying on expensive, convenient alternatives. When cheap, raw ingredients require manual preparation, people suddenly value their free time at an astronomical, frankly delusional, premium.
And the fitness industry is thrilled to hear you say you have no time.
Oh, they love it.
Because they will sell you the solution. They offer these immaculate, healthy meal delivery services. You pay a subscription, and a cooler of perfectly portioned, macro-counted, vacuum-sealed meals arrives at your door every morning before you wake up.
Which, if we analyze the economics, must be categorized strictly as a luxury service. It is not a fitness requirement.
Not at all.
If you are paying for a premium meal delivery service, you are fundamentally hiring a decentralized personal chef.
That's a harsh reality check. Just calling it a personal chef.
It is what it is. And the philosophical pushback on this excuse, that I don't have time excuse, is brilliant. If your time isn't actively generating income, then your time is not too valuable to cook.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself.
It is a basic assessment of opportunity cost. We see university students sitting on a couch scrolling through short-form video content for 4 hours a day, claiming they do not have the time to meal prep.
It is completely cognitive dissonance.
Exactly. Unless the specific hour you spend cooking could have been spent actively billing a client for thousands of dollars or studying for a medical exam, your time is objectively best spent preparing your own food.
You are essentially paying yourself an hourly wage in the form of saved grocery costs.
That's the perfect way to frame it.
But I will concede one thing. The journey of learning to cook this cheap food efficiently is paved with absolute disasters.
Oh, there are always growing pains.
We have to talk about the rice cooker disaster because it perfectly illustrates what happens when you try to optimize time without understanding basic culinary physics.
It is the absolute epitome of misguided efficiency.
So picture this. One of the guys from the source material decides he's going to meal prep like a professional bodybuilder, but he wants to do it in one single step to save time.
Always a dangerous thought process.
He takes 2 pounds of raw, unseasoned chicken breasts, and he throws them directly into a standard rice cooker alongside the raw rice and the water.
Oh, no.
No searing, no spices, no oil, just raw poultry submerged in starchy rice water.
He was attempting to eliminate the Maillard reaction, the browning of meat, and the separate cooking processes entirely.
The result was horrifying. Chemically, what happens when you boil chicken in rice water?
Well, it doesn't render any of the fat. It denatures the proteins into a rubbery, pale mass, and all the raw chicken juices seep into the rice,
Creating a gelatinous salmonella scare of a meal that literally tasted entirely of boiled chicken water.
I can't even imagine.
He proudly presented this to his friends, and they physically refused to eat it. They banned him from cooking. He alienated his social circle with his meal prep.
Which highlights a crucial caveat. While you must trade your time to cook, you cannot bypass the fundamental laws of thermodynamics in cooking. You have to apply basic culinary logic.
Efficiency does not mean throwing raw meat into a starch bath.
Definitely not.
Fortunately, there are ultra-efficient, highly successful hacks for the time-optimized listener that don't involve ruining your rice cooker. My absolute favorite is the fajita factory method.
A prime example of high-yield batch processing.
You take 1 hour on a Sunday afternoon, you cook a massive batch of chicken on a sheet pan, season it heavily with cheap fajita spices like cumin, chili powder, garlic.
Simple and flavorful.
Then you lay out 30 individual tortillas. You portion the chicken, roll all 30 of them up tightly, wrap them in aluminum foil, and throw the entire arsenal into the freezer.
And then you're set for weeks.
Exactly. Whenever you need a meal, you don't even have to think. You pull one frozen wrap out, throw it in a hot toaster press for 3 minutes, and you have a hot, crispy, macro-perfect meal.
Another highly practical method for those who prefer fresh food over frozen is to cook 3 or 4 days' worth of chicken at once, but store it in the refrigerator entirely submerged in a sauce or a thin broth.
Wait, why submerged? Why not just in a Tupperware container?
Because the primary issue with refrigerated pre-cooked chicken is that the cold air in the fridge acts as a dehydrator.
Oh, that makes sense.
By day 3, the chicken is chalky and unpalatable. By submerging it in a liquid medium, you protect the protein structures from the dehydrating environment, ensuring it remains tender and edible throughout the week.
But having this food prepared isn't just about saving 20 minutes on a Tuesday night. There is a deeply psychological insight here. Having prepared food waiting for you is actually a financial defense mechanism.
It is about protecting your financial goals from your own biology.
Expand on that.
We have to look at the neurology of hunger. When you enter a deep caloric deficit and your blood sugar drops, your prefrontal cortex, the logical, long-term decision-making center of your brain, essentially powers down.
So you can't think straight.
Your amygdala and primal brain regions take over, and they demand an immediate high-calorie reward to ensure survival.
And what happens when the primal brain takes over at 7:00 p.m. and you have absolutely zero food prepped in the fridge?
You panic.
You open up Uber Eats or Hunger Station. You order a double cheeseburger for 35 rials. You pay a 15 rial delivery fee, a service fee, and a tip.
It adds up fast.
You just spent 60 reals, almost your entire weekly grocery budget, and completely blew your macronutrient goals in one impulsive thumb swipe decision.
Exactly. Meal prep saves you from yourself. By having the food already cooked, wrapped, and waiting in the fridge, the path of least resistance becomes eating the healthy, cheap food you prepared.
You don't have to wait 45 minutes for a delivery driver. You just open the fridge.
You are outsmarting your future hungry self by engineering your environment.
This psychological element is so crucial, and it leads us directly into what might be the most counterintuitive, mind-bending point of this entire deep dive. We are looking at the psychology of scarcity.
This is one of my favorite concepts.
The argument that being broke, being metaphor, as they say locally, is actually a massive competitive advantage for building a great physique.
It is a fascinating psychological framework because it reframes a perceived systemic weakness into a structural strength.
How does that actually play out in reality? Because being broke usually just feels stressful.
It involves the concept of choice overload, or the paradox of choice, combined with forced environmental design.
Right.
When you have a strictly limited finite budget, you literally cannot afford to cheat on your diet.
Like mechanically impossible.
Let's return to the scenario where you take your meager 200 rial monthly allowance and you spend every last cent of it on your weekly grocery run at the wholesale market, your money is gone.
It is physically tied up in frozen chicken, oats, and potatoes.
Right.
So when Thursday night rolls around and you are exhausted and your brain is screaming for a massive, greasy pizza, you can't buy it. Your bank account balance is zero. The financial constraint creates an artificial, impenetrable wall of discipline.
Precisely. You can't order takeout. You can't impulsively buy expensive sugary snacks at the corner store. Your environment has been ruthlessly restricted by your wallet.
It's like you're locked in.
The wealth paradox in fitness is that an abundance of money provides too many comfortable distractions and easy outs.
If you're a millionaire, you can hire the chef, but you can also just as easily order a $100 sushi platter at midnight if you feel like it.
Yes, if you have infinite money, it requires an immense, almost superhuman amount of internal willpower to choose cold chicken over a gourmet, hyper-palatable meal that is just a phone call away.
Because the temptation is always there.
But if you are broke, the decision is outsourced to your bank account. Your external environment forces compliance. This is mechanistically why the most dramatic, jaw-dropping physical transformations often come from high schoolers or broke college students, not wealthy executives.
The wealthy simply have too many escape hatches.
They do.
But I can hear the listener pushing back on this right now, because those escape hatches often come in the form of extreme social pressure. This is a highly relatable scenario. You are a broke student trying to build muscle. You've prepped your meals. Your bank account is empty.
Right, the setup is perfect.
But your friends who maybe have corporate jobs or more disposable income invite you out to a trendy cafe or an expensive steakhouse on a Friday night. What do? Because if you say no every single time, you become socially isolated, which ruins your mental health.
That is the very real friction of this lifestyle. The pragmatic advice we extracted is not to become a hermit, but to establish rigid operational boundaries. You must live in your current financial reality, not someone else's.
The solution they provided is so simple, but it requires checking your ego at the door. You eat your prep chicken, rice, and broccoli at home by yourself. You fill your stomach.
And then you go out.
Exactly. You meet your friends at the restaurant or the cafe after they have eaten, or you just order a black coffee.
You are extracting the value of the social interaction without paying the luxury tax for a meal that actively sabotages your physical goals.
It requires a serious degree of stoicism. You have to sit there sipping a $3 coffee while everyone else is eating truffle fries, and you have to be comfortable saying, I am operating on a different set of constraints right now. I have different goals.
And ironically, while it may cause some initial friction or teasing, that unwavering level of dedication almost always earns the deep respect of those very friends over time.
Because you stuck to it.
Especially 6 months later, when your physical results become undeniably apparent and they are still spinning their wheels.
It's a superpower. You are weaponizing your lack of funds to build an iron mind.
It really is an advantage if framed correctly.
Okay, we are rounding the final corner of this blueprint. We've established that real, cheap, whole food is the absolute foundation. We know how to cook it. We know how to buy it.
The basics are covered.
But the modern fitness industry is entirely built on powders, pills, and neon-colored drinks. Do supplements have any place whatsoever on a strict scarcity mindset budget? Let's redefine supplements.
If we apply our strict utility over amenity framework, the consensus is clear. The vast majority of supplements, pre-workouts, branched-chain amino acids, fat burners, testosterone boosters, are entirely unnecessary luxuries.
Just junk, basically.
They're marketing phenomena. However, there are two distinct exceptions based purely on mathematical utility and physiological efficacy: creatine monohydrate and whey protein.
Creatine is straightforward. It's incredibly cheap. It is the most heavily researched sports supplement on planet Earth, and it objectively works by increasing intracellular ATP stores for more explosive energy. We don't even need to debate creatine.
Right.
But whey protein. This is where I think people get mathematically confused, because a beginner walks into a supplement store, they look at a massive 5-kilogram tub of whey protein, they see a price tag of maybe 250 rials, around $65, and they immediately categorize it as a luxury item they cannot afford.
Which is a fundamental failure to calculate unit economics. You cannot look at the upfront capital expenditure. You must break down the cost per dose.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's do the actual math for the listener, because this is vital.
Let's take that 250 rial 5-kilogram bag. Yes, the upfront cost is a hurdle, but that bag typically contains around 150 to 160 servings. When you divide the total cost by the number of servings, it breaks down to roughly 1.5 to 2 reals, mere pennies per scoop.
And what does that scoop yield physiologically?
Each scoop yields approximately 25 grams of highly bioavailable complete protein, rich in the leucine required to trigger mTOR.
Which goes back to what we said earlier.
Right. Now, I challenge you to find 25 grams of complete protein anywhere in the grocery store for 1.5 reals.
Right.
Even the wholesale frozen chicken we discussed earlier often costs slightly more per gram of pure bioavailable protein when you factor in the water weight and bone mass you pay for.
Wow. So whey protein isn't a luxury supplement. It is literally the most cost-effective protein source on the market, provided you can save up the initial capital to buy it in bulk.
Exactly. It is a mathematical utility.
But there is a catch. Because you are buying the absolute cheapest, unbranded, bulk protein powder available, it probably tastes like chalk mixed with dirt.
Again, we return to the core philosophy. Taste is an amenity. Function is the priority.
The guys in the source material were brutally funny about this. They said if you buy the cheap, terrible-tasting protein, you have two options. You either mix it with that stealth milk we talked about earlier, maybe throw in some cheap peanut butter to mask the chemical flavor.
That's the easy way out.
Or if you're just mixing it with tap water in a shaker bottle, you literally pinch your nose, hold your breath, and chug it as fast as humanly possible just to get it over with.
Function over flavor.
You are drinking it to flood your bloodstream with amino acids, not to have a Michelin star culinary experience.
It perfectly encapsulates the entire ethos of this deep dive. You are extracting the maximum biological value for the absolute minimum financial input. Every decision is weighed against its functional utility.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today, from the dorm room floor to the biochemistry of salt brines. Let's synthesize this definitive blueprint for the listener.
Let's summarize the playbook.
If you are listening to this right now and you have been sitting on the sidelines thinking you couldn't afford to get in shape, here is your playbook. First, realize that the physical stimulus is paramount and entirely free.
Introduce your body to mechanical tension immediately. If that means doing eccentric pull-ups on a $10 bar in your bedroom or finding a dusty neighborhood sha'abi gym with fragile tile floors, do it.
Your central nervous system only recognizes mechanical force, not the logo on the equipment.
Exactly. Second, completely overhaul your supply chain. Step out of the convenience matrix. Skip the corner store, bypass the expensive supermarket, drive to the wholesale markets.
Buy the frozen chicken, master the osmotic salt brine to make it juicy, and learn the thermodynamics of microwaving a potato in a wet paper towel. Combine cheap toast and eggs to build complete amino acid profiles.
Third, trade your free time for meal prep. Recognize the opportunity cost of your time. If you are paying for meal delivery, you are paying a massive premium for a personal chef. Prepare your food in bulk to proactively defend yourself against the psychological trap of hunger-induced takeout orders.
And finally, weaponize your scarcity. Use your lack of funds as an impenetrable shield against bad habits. Embrace the modaffer, the broke mindset. Let your empty bank account force the ironclad discipline that wealthy people have to fake.
Use bulk whey protein strictly for its mathematical advantage. Hold your nose and chug it down.
Remember, a lack of resources is very often just a lack of resourcefulness.
Which leads us with a final, much broader conceptual framework to consider. We have just spent the last hour proving, mechanistically and economically, that financial constraints actually accelerate fitness goals by forcing strict discipline and stripping away comfortable progress-killing distractions.
The struggle literally builds the structure.
Precisely. So I encourage you, the listener, to ask yourself, in what other areas of your life is an abundance of money or an abundance of modern convenience actually making you worse, lazier, or less effective?
Oh, that's a brilliant question.
What if you applied this exact broke mindset, this ruthless focus on raw utility and stripping away all amenities to your career, your side hustle, or your continuing education? Where else in your life is a perceived toll booth, just an illusion designed to separate you from your money?
The luxury boutique is just a distraction. The real work, the work that changes you, always happens in the basement. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take that thought, apply it to your life, build that discipline, and we will see you on the next deep dive. Take care.
Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. Thank you for your support.